What's up, everybody? Stacey Blackwood here from the Tide Talk podcast to talk a little bit about the spring practice. Of course, on Monday, Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide returned to the practice field after taking last week off. So they've now completed 2 practices so far this spring. The weather makes it feel like spring right now, so we're excited about being able to cover these guys here this spring. You see Bryce Young, you see all the talent that he has, and him returning as the quarterback for Alabama, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. And then you also see a guy like Will Anderson Jr., who is, kind of making a push for the best player in all of college football. I mean, some would even say he is the best player in college football, regardless of position. And you look at the guys that joined Will Anderson Jr. there in the outside linebacker room. Dallas Turner. We saw a true freshman in Dallas Turner last year step up and make an impact for this team. You see a guy like Chris Braswell, who's hoping to make an impact, kind of as a reserve player. So there is a lot of talent there in the outside linebacker room, and a lot to be excited about there. And you look across the defense as a whole, and all the amount of talent that is returning there. There's a lot of depth along the defensive line. There's a lot of depth there at linebacker. There's a lot of depth there in the secondary. So a lot to be excited about when you look at this Alabama defense. And it's obviously led by Will Anderson Jr. and what he can do as a pass rusher and also as a run stopper there on the edge. So excited to kind of look at this defense and kind of see how some of the holes that are there are filled this spring. Of course, there's not really a whole lot of holes. Christian Harris is moving on. Fadarian Mathis is moving on. Of course, both Josh Jobe and Jalen Armour-Davis are gone, but we got a chance to see Kool-Aid McKinstry, Kyrie Jackson. We got a chance to see Jalen Moody in some situations last year. And, of course, replacing Mathis along the defensive line, there's a lot of returning talent, whether you're talking about Byron Young or Justin Oboigbe. DJ Dell is back. So Tim Smith is back. So there's still plenty of depth there along the defensive line. It's just about finding that guy to take that leadership role there in the interior of that Alabama defense. But there is a lot to be excited about there. And we're going to be here this spring to kind of talk about all these positions and watch some of these players. And I just think this is an exciting time because, spring football is all about development. It's all about improving. So there's a chance that all these guys can improve. And speaking of improvement, offensive line is maybe the position group that Alabama needs to improve on most. That and wide receiver. Wide receiver is more of a question mark because you're losing Jamison Williams and John Mechie, 2 guys that are All-American top players. And so you look at losing those 2 guys. You look at what we're losing in Evan Neal in the offensive line as well. And there's some question marks there at those 2 position groups. Then you look at we see Kool-Aid McKinstry here, just a talented player, a young guy last year who was kind of thrust into the situation because of injuries, but he performed pretty good. But you look at a guy like him, and he's just going to continue to get better and better each and every day that he practices with this team. And you look at the quarterbacks here, the amount of talent there. We know what Bryce Young can do. Jalen Milroe is a guy that is continuing to develop. You can see that he has all the arm talent in the world. He is continuing to develop, his timing, his rhythm, throwing with accuracy. So he is a guy. And, of course, Ty Simpson, the true freshman quarterback who's an early enrollee. This is a great opportunity for him to continue to improve and learn this Alabama offense and just become one of those guys there in that quarterback room to continue his development. So excited about that. Excited about the receiver corps. You see Jermaine Burton here, the transfer from Georgia. He is a guy who could make a huge impact for this team. And he might be one of the most, we're going to look back after this season here and say that Jermaine Burton was maybe one of the most important transfers in all of college football. So excited to see what he can do, excited about all these other young wide receivers having this opportunity to step up this spring. So you look at Trayshawn Holden as well, a guy who's, entering now his 3rd year. He has a chance to be a really good player. We saw that he was kind of the guy in the national championship game as kind of that possession wide receiver. So you could kind of see him filling that role of a John Mechie, a guy who gets you first downs when you need first downs. So excited to see what that wide receiver group looks like this spring once we hit A-Day and everybody can kind of have a full view and a full picture of that wide receiver group. And they showed up. There's Henry To'oTo'o, a great leader for this Alabama team. He was a very important transfer last year from Tennessee, and excited to have him on the team as well. That's going to do it for this quick episode. We really appreciate everybody joining in. If you're not already, make sure you hit that that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We're trying to reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers, and we cannot do that without your help. So we appreciate everybody joining in. Until next time, roll tide.